Okay, let's watch the Bellular video. Here we go. WoW's health numbers don't lie. Here's what we have discovered. Let's take a look. Here we go.
Okay, this is going to be a fun video. Tell me if you've heard something like this recently. World of Warcraft is facing a mass exodus. Everyone's leaving. The cities are empty, the guilds are dying, and the only people left are the boosters and the boosted. It's worse than ever before.
That is true. All of that is literally true. Yeah, that's true.
Have you heard something like that? Because I think we've all heard some sentiment like that across the internet.
That's true.
You know, looking at the forums, the social media, I think we can all say that it's gone a little bit wrong. But the sentimental and anecdotal evidence is, not actually that useful. Do you know what is very useful? Data, numbers, and wow, they tell us a story. So today we're going to get into it. We're going to break down the numbers for World of Warcraft to get an overall picture of the game's health. Now, of course, Blizzard don't share their numbers, but we've dug up quite a lot.
We dug them up.
And we can use some intuition. It's going to be pretty big. But like with your intuition, which is probably saying that it's time to get a great site together with today's sponsor, squarespace.com/Bellular Gaming, where you'll get a free trial and the code Bellular Gaming gets you
10% off Squarespace 14-day trial.
And it is just simple. Squarespace are the fastest and easiest way to get a great looking site quickly.
Nice.
I built this showcase site in about 40 minutes, just chilling out with my iPad on the sofa, and it then took barely any time to add e-commerce to it. It's pretty damn sweet. Their award-winning templates are simply awesome. They just let you hit the ground running with your stuff looking great, and of course with that room to customize later. Now, your website is what people see of you online, so do you want your portfolio to stand out? Well, I think then a gorgeous, clean, content-first site is what you need. But of course, there's more than just portfolios. Do you want a site for your business, a personal site, e-commerce? I mean, Squarespace have even got membership features set up now. They've got an excellent site builder, easy-to-use tools, and incredible templates that are all that you need to get started. So, start your free trial at squarespace.com/Bellular Gaming and use the code Bellular Gaming for 10% off your first purchase. All right, let's get into these juicy numbers. Okay, I'm not going to beat around the bush here. This might get a little dry, so here's something to whet your appetite with. World of Warcraft almost certainly has less than 2 million active players right now.
Holy shit.
Generous estimate is around the 1.6 million mark, but it could be as low as 1.2 million. And that's as of 9.1, by the way. These numbers actually don't take into account the recent explosion of bad PR. Moving from 9.0 to 9.1, World of Warcraft lost about half of its player base. I mean, literally half the active characters and half the raiding guilds stopped. Mythic Plus activity is down substantially, and PvP participation has fallen off a cliff, as has activity there.
Shit.
Player retention is rather in the bin, and we do have evidence here.
Holy shit.
Also, at a rough estimate, just over 10% of active characters actually raid. We'll explain that later. Now, for Blizzard overall, user numbers are actually their lowest in years. And that's actually in the same quarter as 9.1 and TBC Classic. Take a second for this. When do you think Blizzard's numbers have recently been the lowest? If you're thinking about sweaty orcs, pounding drums, and an expansion cut short, then you're right. Because the last time that Blizzard's monthly active users were this low, well, it was before Legion, it was before Overwatch. In Q1 2016, they had 26 million monthly active users. In Q2 2021, despite TBC Classic going live and patch 9.1 releasing on the last day, they're back down there again at 26 million. Now, for a comparison, their peak was 46 million in 2017, with Overwatch pumping, Diablo launching the Necromancer, and Hearthstone popping off, all while Legion was in the midst of patch 7.2.
Okay.
But how does this 26 million monthly active users apply to World of Warcraft? Well, it's time to bring out our secret weapon, reading in between the lines. Because when talking about World of Warcraft, All they said in their investor slides was that net bookings grew, driven by TBC Classic's launch.
Here's the thing, I don't know how to read, and I think World of Warcraft has 69 million active players. And I just made that number up, but it's probably true.
6-month subs, store mounts, and the Dark Portal Pass, they did their job, right? Turning existing users into whales, meaning that bleeding players isn't as big a deal to your bottom line.
True, that's true.
The most important thing is that Shadowlands was not mentioned specifically, and I think that means that they basically had nothing nice to say to their investors about it. And that means a lot. So, if you want the zingers, if you want the numbers in their simplest form,
that's
then
not good.
In a way, there you go. There absolutely has been an exodus across the World of Warcraft and Blizzard in general, even before the big recent controversies. But that's not satisfying, is it? That doesn't make for a good video, and it's not even close to the full story, or...
Well, here's the thing that people don't understand. Even though WoW is looking bad right now, patch 9.1, I get it. Patch 9.2 is going to change everything. Like, I'm telling you, patch 9.2 is going to fix the game. It's probably going to be the best patch ever made, and every single person that ever quit WoW is going to come back, and they're all going to play it, and everyone's going to love it, and it's going to be fucking awesome, okay? That's the truth. That's just
all
the truth.
of the evidence.
We
have to go deeper. It gets worse, but also better.
Cool.
Blizzard are tight-lipped about individual numbers for their games, because that lets them control the narrative. Thanks to WoWranks.io, though, we know roughly how many characters there are in World of Warcraft, because the Armory API exists and all this data can be scraped.
True, good point.
In the 28 days before August 2nd, there were just over 3 million characters who logged into World of Warcraft at least once and belonged to a covenant.
But those are characters, not individual accounts, or not individual humans, right? So if there's 3 million characters, and on average, like, I don't know, on average, how many alts do people have? Like maybe 1.5 alts on average per person? Who knows? 2 to 3?
On February 2nd, that same statistic was 6.1 million. That is less than half the active characters after 6 months. Not good.
So that's actually... Oh, wow. This is fucked up. Okay, so in 9.0, it was 6 million, and now it's 3 million. But the people that stuck around, that are still playing, they probably have more alts now than they did in 9.0. So the player count dipped, but also the alt count of the remaining players went up. Don't you think? So it's actually worse than what it sounds like.
Good.
Shit.
Now, for context, these characters must be either max level or currently doing Threads of Fate in order to have actually picked a covenant. And that's what makes them be included in the dataset. We can narrow this down by looking at how many characters have active soulbinds, because those only become available at level 60. Now, we only have this figure for the patch 9.1 data, and it's 2.7 million.
Oh, wow.
And since the real activity of Shadowlands is in the endgame, that's what we can call our active player count. Look, sorry if you're below max level, you absolutely do matter, it's just we can't track you. We have no way of knowing, of these characters, how many are alts. But if we assume the average is anywhere between 1.5 and 3 alts per player, then it does paint a dark picture. Remember, you might only have one character, but there are those people with loads of alts. World of Warcraft basically is between 1 and 2 million players.
What if... Holy shit. Okay, hear me out. What if every player playing Shadowlands actually doesn't even have one character, they only have 0.1 character. So actually what you would do is you take 3 million and multiply that by 10 to get up to 1, and then there's actually 30 million active players. Because everyone only actually plays 1/10 of one character. You don't know. You just don't know. Like, you just don't know these things, right?
At least in that end game pop. That alt estimate might seem high to you, but remember, it's just max level characters who logged in during the month of a new patch. Now, Shadowlands isn't exactly an alt-friendly experience, but returning players are almost certainly going to be logging into other characters at least once. And for an example, on our team, Matt is pretty sure that he
Nice name.
counts for 6. Yes, 6 characters. Even though really he only raid logs on just 1 character.
If you are playing 6 characters in Shadowlands, you are into some crazy shit. This is the type of guy that goes on Craigslist at midnight on a fucking Wednesday and pays some dominatrix to come over and stomp on his balls and spit in his mouth. This guy's fucked up. This guy's into some fucked up, crazy psycho shit, okay?
When he's healing for our raids. So that was your zinger.
Holy shit.
There were 2.7 million logged in max level characters during patch launch.
Wow.
If we say the average player logged onto 2 characters, and that takes you down to 1.35 million active endgame players. To get an even clearer picture, 9.1 has had 1.8 million unique characters complete a Mythic Plus run. That number also includes alts. All of these things point to a big takeaway. World of Warcraft basically must be decently below 2 million active players right now. Also, that's only one point of data, and we've got no historical comparison.
I don't think if he's clarified if that's counting TBC though. Is that it? Like because with all these metrics, he's only talking about retail. I think this might only be retail. I don't think he's talking about TBC.
So to get a better picture, right? Let's go and have more data. Let's go through it. Let's talk about in-game activity in World of Warcraft, and we'll start by looking at the foundational pillar of World of Warcraft's endgame, raiding.
Okay.
Our first comparison will be using some recent data from Raider.io. The
TBC has double that easily. Yeah, I think you're right. And let me take a look. It's been a while since I've done this actually. We can take a look at ironforge.pro, which is the raid log uploading website that like consolidates everything. So in the last week, between August 3rd and August 10th, there have been 356,000 individual Warcraft players being uploaded or logged in Warcraft logs for classic TBC. So some people raid on multiple characters, so it's actually probably less than this as far as individual humans. But like, do you think there are people that actually play TBC? These are characters. These are individual characters. So if I raided on my Paladin and my Warlock, I would count as 2. Okay. Do you think that there are people that play TBC every week and don't raid? Like, why? Like, there's probably a few, but not a lot. Like, I seriously doubt there's a lot of them. I seriously fucking doubt that. No fucking way. There's probably a few. Yeah, sure. A lot? No.
number of guilds who raided in the 0.0 patch compared to the 0.1 patch. Basically, tracking how many raiders don't come back for the next patch. Now, while we're talking about guilds, remember that raids on normal and heroic can be anywhere between 10 and 30 players in size, although medium sizes are usually preferred by people. So if you multiply by somewhere between 15 and 20, then you'll have an extremely rough number of the characters who are involved in raiding. Anyway, let's take a look then. In the first month of Castle Nathria, 37,447 guilds killed Shriekwing and Normal. In the first month of Sanctum of Domination, only 18,594 killed Taragru. So basically, half of WoW's guilds did not come back. Specifically, 50.35% didn't come back. To use our very, very rough estimate of raid size, this means anywhere between 560 and 750,000 characters killed Shriekwing in that time period, but only
Okay, hear me out. What if all of those guilds were 10-man raiding guilds, and then they decided going into the new patch to be 30-man heroic raiding guilds? So actually, there's more players than there was before, but it's just not being represented by the guild logs because the guilds are bigger raid sizes. Right? That could be true. It could be
between 280k and 370k for Taragru. That looks a lot smaller than our active character count, doesn't it? That's food for thought. Out of curiosity, we took a look at the same 0.0 patch to 0.1 patch difference, but in Battle for Azeroth. The exact same methodology returns a less substantial drop in players, only 30%. Over 34,000 people killed Talok in Uldir in the first month, and that dropped to 24,000 killing Champion of Light in Dazara lore.
Shit.
Still huge, but it does pale in comparison to a whole 50% drop. It also means less raiding guilds in 9.1 than in 8.1, despite there being many more at the launch of Shadowlands.
True.
However, it's not all catastrophic numerically. Patch 8.2 and 8.3 had a lot fewer first boss kills in the first month than 9.3. Nyalotha and Eternal Palace only had 14k come in for those basically free first boss normal kills. However, it still is lower than 21k for Tomb of Sargeras, which was another 0.2 patch. Messy numbers, but the point is clear. Shadowlands is performing very poorly for player retention in between the patches. Now, while we're still on the topic of raiding, we do have another figure. Mid-tier drop-off. We've looked at how many people come back to raid for a new patch, but how many actually survive to the end of the raid? Well, for this, we can look at how many guilds got ahead of the curve. Nathria had the worst drop-off ever seen.
Oh my god.
Despite a record number of guilds trying and clearing it, the percentage that actually got curve was the lowest recorded since Legion.
Well, what if they were just progressing on the final boss for 6 months? What if the raid was actually so good that people loved it so much, and it was also so hard that people progressed on it for 6 months and still wasn't able to kill the final boss, but they still loved the raid and still showed up every week to try to kill the final boss because the raid was so hard and so good, right? That's probably what it was.
That doesn't tell you really how players felt about the Shadowlands. I think nothing can.
Yeah.
Of 41,837 guilds who progressed throughout 9.0, 22,979 killed Denathrius. That's just shy of 55%. Uldir was actually similarly bad. Only 56% of 34,000 guilds made it to Gehun. Most of the other raids that we've got data for are in the high
That actually happens. I don't know, man. Like, it was the end of Legion. I actually streamed this. If you've been a long-time viewer, you probably watched me do this, like maybe Frag Monkey or other people that were here. It was the final patch of Legion when Antorus came out. And like a week before the patch came out, I boosted a Warlock and joined some like shitty guild. And we progressed in Antorus for 2 weeks, got ahead of the curve, and then the guild fell apart. Like it was like a new guild, by the way. Like the guild had been in existence for like maybe a month and a half. They were recruiting for heroic progression. We cleared the raid in 2 weeks, and then everyone quit. That's kind of what happened. So it's not like I refuse to believe that heroic raiding is not really that fucking hard. I'm gonna keep it real. It's not that bad.
70s.
I don't know.
So either the 0.0 raids are harder,
I'm just saying,
or the...
My point is, I don't think the difficulty of heroic raiding is such a hard factor that it like makes people quit the game because it's just too fucking hard. I don't think that's why people would stop, right?
Dedicated sort of new expansion players generally don't come back for the later patches and stick with it for ages. Now, to Shadowlands' credit, more guilds killed Denathrius in heroic than any other end boss in modern WoW. So I guess it's a big shame about Sanctum then. If you want a TLDR...
Wait. Say that again? Say that one more time?
Now, to Shadowlands' credit, more guilds killed Denathrius in heroic than any other end boss in modern WoW.
Oh, wow.
So I guess it's a big shame about Sanctum then. If you want a TLDR for raiding, this is it. Point number 1.
Really?
A record number of guilds jumped into Castle Nathria, and a record number stuck through to kill Denathrius. However, the proportion of guilds who stayed to the end fell by almost 50%.
I feel like that's going to happen every expansion, right? Where there's a ton of hype. It's the first boss of a new expansion. But that hype doesn't remain for the next 2 years. Like, the first raid is always going to be the highest participation count, I think, just because everything's new and like literally everything is new.
Point 2 then.
I think that's actually reasonable.
Drop-off in raiding from Nathria to Sanctum of Domination is around 50%, and that is significantly worse than the 30% drop-off in early BFA. Point 3. Our very rough estimate of characters who have killed Tower Groot on normal is between 10 and 13% of the active endgame character count. On heroic, that shrinks to between 8 and 10%, and if we correct for alts, that means that somewhere between 15 and 20% of the player's rate. If nothing else, that proves that there's more to World of Warcraft, so let's look elsewhere. Let's look to the land of Mythic Plus.
Okay, now we're talking.
For Mythic Plus, Raider.io is again a very handy resource with, notably, the unique class population. As of August 9th, 9.1 has seen 1.8 million unique characters complete a Mythic Plus run.
Okay.
Of those, 1.2 million have done a 10 or above, and 700k have done a 15 or above.
Wait a minute. I swear it was going to come end of this month, but 100% they... You know what happened? You're totally right. You are totally right. I guarantee you, Blizzard was going to launch Tier 5 on the same day as New World coming out, which was planned for August 31st, and then New World delayed the game by a month. And now Blizzard is like... what do we do? What do we do? Because Blizzard is real, they're real motherfuckers. Like, they will always try to release content on the same day as another big release to, like, kind of steal the hype from them. So I guarantee you they were going to do that, and now Blizzard doesn't know what to do. If Blizzard delays, like, if Blizzard doesn't release Tier 5 until late September, yikes. Who wants to play TBC for another 7 weeks with no Tier 5 content? Woo! Hell yeah! Woo! Man, that's gonna be bad. That's bad. That's gonna be bad. Let me keep playing this.
Now, remember a figure from earlier.
Not good.
That there are approximately 2.7 million active endgame characters in 9.1. If a whole 1 million of them have not done Mythic Plus, then there are two possible options. Number 1, loads of those characters are alts and haven't done M Plus yet.
Okay, wait. Won't you only show up on this Raider.io website as having completed the Mythic Plus if you're using the add-on? How many people participate in Mythic Plus and don't use the Raider.io or Mythic Plus add-on or whatever the fuck? You don't need the add-on? Oh, this actually has every single person. Okay, never mind then. There you go.
That's the easiest option, and it does cut the projected player count down substantially, kind of lining up with our earlier suggestions. 2, they are unique players, but don't actually do Mythic Plus. Now, since Mythic Plus is one of the 3 activities to do in endgame World of Warcraft, and also does provide the best, easiest source of gear for most, that doesn't bode well for the game. But... unique characters don't tell the whole story. What about engagement in the Mythic Plus system? Well, thanks to Best Keystone, we can actually track that via completed runs.
Of course.
So here's a look at the 3 most recent seasons. It's early days, but the lower starting point for patch 9.1 is instantly apparent. You can see Battle for Azeroth season...
Wait, do they do 1 season per patch, right? So season 2, like, kind of just got started, right?
Season 4 started off strong, just below 1 million dungeon runs per week, and it fell off slowly over time. Shadowlands Season 1, for comparison, was a bit slow to start, but there actually are 2 factors there. Factor 1 is gear scale.
Dude, this is one of my problems with ARPGs, and also the concept of Mythic Plus and Greater Rifts from Diablo. It's not really a motivating factor for me to do content to get gear, to do the same content faster to get better gear, to do the same content even faster to get even better gear, to do the same content even more faster to get even more gear, to do the content even more super duper faster to get even more super duper gear. It just is not. I just don't give a fuck about that. I hate to say it. I just don't really
Mythic
care
Zeros
about that.
were providing gear for more players for longer before they needed to hop into the Keystone Dungeons. Factor 2 then is the release date of the expansion, because you can really see participation pick up in week 5, and that is when the Christmas period was well and truly over. But if we're here to talk about the current
rating is the same. I feel like in TBC and in Classic WoW, I like the rating dynamic a lot more because you have a set best in slot list, and you can check, like, after you get your Neltharian's tier, you can check that box, you know, and like you can get this sense of completionism, right? You know, you have a set best in slot list, you work towards it, and it takes you 3.5 months to get it, and then you're good. Whereas in retail, and I understand they got rid of Titan Forging. Titan Forging really fucked that aspect up, because then it's like, oh wow, it's my best in slot piece, but it didn't Titan Forge, or wow, my best in slot piece Titan Forged, but there's no gem socket. You never had that 100% sense of satisfaction, right? Or you very rarely did it all. Like, no one was ever in 100% best in slot gear. And I think that's a really, like, important psychological motivator for players to check the box and have the sense of completion. And then they find something else to do, or they play an alt, or whatever the fuck, right? I think the reason why game devs are scared of doing that with MMOs is because they're worried, you know, once these players get their BIS gear, they're going to stop playing, right? And, you know, that's probably a legitimate concern. So maybe the solution is to make the best in slot gear, like have a straight up legit best in slot list, but then make it sort of unobtainable in the amount of time frame that you will have to get it. Does that make sense? So it's like, if you raid every week for 3 months, you can get 80% of your list, but then the new raid is going to come out, and so you're never going to. Yeah, I don't know. For me, like, my idea, when I close my eyes and envision my perfect MMO, I don't really want to have to play alts. I want to be able to do everything on my one main character and be able to play my main character that I love and have an attachment to 18 hours a day, every single day, if that's what I want to do. Like, I want to be able to do everything on my main character. I don't want to have to raid log on 7 characters in order to have fun. I understand that's how Final Fantasy is. Final Fantasy is also just incidentally, it's just not the game for me. I like New World actually executes that idea really, really well. I'm optimistic about New World. Guild Wars 2 obviously does not have that system, but you know, like, there are pros and cons all the way across the board. So Guild Wars 2 does not have that system I just described, but it has a lot of other really, really good systems that it sort of like compensates for it. But no, like there's no, for me, there's no perfect MMO. Even Classic WoW is not perfect. There are a lot of things I would change about Classic. There's things that I'm sure that I'm not going to like about Guild Wars. There are things that I know that I don't like about Final Fantasy. But also, a game like Final Fantasy has a lot of really good pros. Also, there's a lot of really good things about Final Fantasy 14. Like I use these examples all the time. The raids are good. The dungeons are good. The class design is good. I just hate the leveling. I just cannot stand Final Fantasy leveling. But then there's fucked up things about Classic WoW 2 that I hate also. So there's no perfect game. You got to decide. You got to just you got to experiment and find which one is best for you.
Numbers.
It's kind of what
then
it is.
I think you can see that Season 2 is off to a very slow start. None of the time or gear barriers exist. In fact, it's the opposite, since players with existing gear can immediately hop into the higher level keys. But even in each of the first 2 weeks, only around 720k runs were finished. In Season 1, it took until around week 18 to dip that low. It's hard to draw a meaningful comparison here, but patch 9.1 is trending to be 30 to 50% lower in engagement than 8.3 and 9.0. We don't have time in this video to go too deep here, but there are other interesting things, like the breakdown of classes and specs in Mythic Plus is a bit tragic. 37% of runs use a Guardian Druid tank, for example, and the bottom 6 DPS specs make up for less than 4% of overall DPS.
Wow, they took the Classic WoW class design and just inserted that same formula into Retail WoW. Nice.
Yes. Ouch. So, that's that done. What of PvP?
Same ratios.
Now then, the last part of our puzzle, PvP. Our first source will be Gibbs over at Ludus Labs, who's done a stellar job. To hijack their summary from the end of July, PvP participation is down to around 1/3 of what it was in Season 1.
Wow.
This is likely due to the general people leaving, but also perhaps a lack of PvE relevant rewards. Using a sample of
Well, it's bad. Like, Savix quit, Stoops quit. A lot of like the PvP nerds, those guys are quitting. They're unhappy. They're pissed off.
250k characters, they found that 7.3% so far have played a 2v2, 4.6% have played a 3v3, and 3.3% have done an RBG. That's not a lot of participation, although
Shit.
the lack of PvE rewards, I guess, could be to blame. Let's just take a look.
Well, okay, maybe Savix didn't quit, but he's playing other games also now. He's doing variety. Stoops, like, straight up, Stoops quit. Maybe Savix didn't quit, but he's doing other stuff now also. Yeah, I think I misspoke on that.
The raw numbers then. So here is a chart from Zunimate tracking the amount of games played each day in Season 2. All right. No prizes for guessing when this season started. That huge spike of activity fell off extremely sharply before stabilizing. And as of August 8th, there are around 18k games of 2v2s, 34k games of 3v3s, and 8k games of RBGs being played on the daily. From May to June, it stayed around at 7k arena matches and...
Do you think that solo queue would fix retail's issues? Would solo queue really do it? I think it would help, but I don't think it would. It would be something cool to do. It wouldn't, but it's not going to fix every issue. No.
1k RBGs per day. Now,
it would do
let's
something,
compare
but
that
not
to
enough.
the earlier Zunimate numbers from the start of Season 1. Ouch. The peaks are notably larger in 2s and 3s, and the general fall-off is a lot slower. We're limited by the numbers we can actually check here, but let's use 3 weeks as our cutoff point. 3 weeks after Season 1 started, there were around 80k arena matches and 20k RBG matches being played each day. And now, at the same point in Season 2, there's around 50k matches for the arena and 8k for RBGs. And that is getting close to a 50% overall.
It's weird. Like, I quit in early Kata, so I never really was there for, like, the peak of RBGs, but I'm thinking from a viewer perspective, like, if I'm on Twitch watching someone else play the game, or as far as, like, an esports viewer, I think RBGs are way more fun to watch than Arena. Arena is really not very palatable to kind of casual, just like normie players. But I think it's really easy, if you're a casual player, it's really easy to watch an RBG stream and follow along and know what's going on. Arena is so, like, fucking complex. It's so hard to know, what's going on.
Overall drop-off, which roughly does match the rest of our numbers. In conclusion then, Shadowlands has screwed the pooch. That's just what it is. We have the numbers.
You never screw the pooch.
The beginning of this expansion had record raid numbers, over 6 million active characters, and a healthy blend of PvE and PvP. For all the quality and systems issues that Shadowlands had, it did bring people to the game excited and ready for some content. I guess the problem...
RPGs whoever is where they're at. Dude, just imagine for a second. Imagine they introduced a MOBA game mode in World of Warcraft. And it's 5v5, and you're on a MOBA style map, and you're pushing creeps and doing shit like that. Like why not? Why not try that at least? I think that'd be a good idea. They should do that. They should try that, man. They should. Fuck it.
That content never materialized, and those systems kind of ran aground once you went more than a few weeks into them. And just that systems heavy expansion and perhaps also the lore direction have just turned people away from World of Warcraft. Now, just after 9.1's launch, there are almost certainly less than 2 million people playing World of Warcraft, at least at the end game, which really is most of World of Warcraft, with that drop-off basically being across all activity measurements. I mean, roughly, you're speaking half of the characters, half the raiding guilds, about 30% less Mythic Plus being completed, and about half the engagement in PvP. And we haven't even seen where those raid and M Plus numbers are going to go over the coming weeks, so maybe I'll have to do an update video. Now remember, by the way, these numbers do not include the damage that the lawsuits have done. These numbers are pre that. So it could be rough. The potential to bring people back should still be there with Shadowlands. I mean, it was the fastest selling PC game ever at the time of launch, and Blizzard's whole strategy revolves around explosive expansion marketing and then monetizing content launches with, you know, your...
Spend a ton of money on advertising, spend no money on development. That's pretty much what the strategy is.
Well, you've got your jacked up editions, you've got your
Yep.
6-month sub promos, things like that. But the question is, will they be able to
What the
sell an
problem is.
expansion to people who have been burned by Shadowlands? To the fans who feel betrayed by their beloved company's behavior internally? I mean, is there a lore hook and a content hook that can actually reclaim all of that lost ground? It's kind of hard to say.
Reverse and Guild Wars 2. Yeah, I know. Like, I have to say, I think having really cool YouTube videos and music videos and really good cinematics, I think that is such an important investment for a game to make. And when I look at a game that does that really well, I mean, there's two games that obviously are at the very clear forefront of that. I say it's League of Legends and Fortnite. The Fortnite and League of Legends advertisement teams, they're putting on music videos and putting on in-game events and having little lore videos, and they have high-budget cinematics. It brings in so many people, and it makes the people that are playing that game feel like the company gives a fuck about the game. It is so important. I'm telling you, like, it is such a big deal. And actually, WoW is pretty good at it too. Like, WoW is good at that. I think all of the things like Warbringers or the Shadowbringers little like videos beforehand, all that stuff. I remember watching the ones before Legion where it's like talking about the Demon Hunters. Like those were so fucking cool. Like those are so badass. And then, I mean, but you have to have gameplay to back it up is the problem.
Hey,
That's WoW's problem.
I guess we'll just have to follow up when we get next month numbers, so we really know what's going on. They may not be pretty.
Yep.
It's a rough situation. I would like to say a big thanks to Squarespace, especially in these rough times.
Squarespace.
Having sponsors like Squarespace stick with us is just an awesome thing. Really helps us. And the great thing is, they're an awesome company. They've got an awesome set of tools. We use them, so check out the link below. And a big thank you to them for helping to make content like this possible.
Nice one.
All right, that's it for me. Let me know what you think. Take care. I'll see you next time.
Thank you, Bellular. Thank you.